Summer League has started and Jett Howard has made believers of us all. What Jett Howard showed us in the Summer League opener, plus how the Magic's key players stood out in their Summer League debut. And yes, the Magic are in East Group A, the group of death. We'll get to all of it today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is July 12th. It will be eventually July 13th, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman. I'm the senior writer over here at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD, notably broadcasting from Orlando. Appreciate everyone for being with me. Unfortunately, was not able to make it to Vegas. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, Jett Howard begins to answer a lot of questions that a lot of fans had about him and restoring some hope in so many things. Why patience paid off for Jett Howard and the Orlando Magic and what he showed in his Summer League debut, plus what the Magic showed in a really impressive Summer League showing, what they got from Anthony Black, Tristan Silva. We'll hit all the big names. Do not worry. And NBA Cup groups are officially out. The Magic are in East Group A, the East's group of death. What lies ahead for the Magic in November if they want to get to the NBA Cup knockout round? We'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Lest you think that I am not paying attention to what you all say. I have a general philosophy that I respond to everything. I try to respond to everything that at least merits a response. I try to read every comment on everything. I don't get to everything, so I apologize if you feel like I'm ignoring you. I do like to listen to what you, my audience, say and hear what you're discussing, because that points me to what I should be talking about and what I should be thinking about. Ultimately, I'm here to serve you, the audience. But as we prepared for Summer League and really even in the draft, I have seen a consistent comment develop. And I'm not calling out any names or saying that this is the general feeling of the Magic fandom, but I acknowledge that it exists. That Jett Howard is a bust. That him playing only 67 total minutes in the NBA during his rookie season means that was a bad pick. That Jeff Weltman botched the number 11 pick. I would generally tell everyone that, look, if your rookie is good enough to play, he will play. Anthony Black played a little bit last year too. But you don't draft players for their rookie year. And very, very, very clearly, the Magic made a decision, whether that came during training camp, whether that came during Summer League last year, whether that was done before they drafted Jett Howard in a draft that all of us, including me, would acknowledge was an extreme reach. And we all had our doubts about Jett Howard fitting into this group. Yes, the Magic needed shooting desperately, but Jett Howard at Michigan did not look like a defender. He had the size the Magic liked, but we all questioned if he could fit into this team's culture. There were a lot of questions about Jett Howard. And so some of this discussion is worth having, but at the very least, the Magic executed whatever plan of development they had for him to send him to Osceola, give him a gap year, and see where he's at in the summer. Undoubtedly, though, doing that increased the pressure. It increased the need to see, okay, how good is this Jett Howard kid? Can he be that answer for the Orlando Magic from outside? Can he be the high-volume microwave scorer he was at Michigan? Can he bring that to the Orlando Magic? And perhaps it was cover, perhaps it was spin, but Jeff Weltman and Anthony Parker kept talking up Jett Howard and said, hey, this kid had a great year with Osceola. He did everything we wanted to see from him. Well, the proof is in the pudding. It's great that, I would always remind everyone, Jeff Weltman, Anthony Parker see far more of Jett Howard than we do because they're able to watch practices and workouts and all that stuff. But we needed to see it in the games. We needed a public display that what the Magic and their development plan for Jett Howard was going to work, and that Jett Howard could at least feasibly be a rotation player, that he could at least gain a pathway to play. That's the Jeff Weltman buzz phrase, that you want to give these guys a path for play. This summer league was big for Jett Howard, and Jett Howard would acknowledge that, I'm sure. It was big to show that he can step up to the plate, that he has elevated his game, that he, frankly, doesn't look like a rookie. We know the shooting's going to be there, and Jett would even acknowledge, and I think acknowledged even after Friday's game, that it still all starts with his defense, that he needs to prove himself defensively and in the other parts of his game to round out the rest of his game, because that potential, the size, the passing, the shooting, the defensive potential, that's why the Magic took him so controversially over Grady Dick and Jordan Hawkins, two very popular shooters in that draft. Jordan Hawkins, we'll see him on Sunday when the Magic play the Pelicans. Safe to say, after one summer league game here, Jett Howard is showing us the patience paid off. A lot of these questions, not put to rest, it's summer league, but a lot of these questions suddenly got flipped on their head. Suddenly it does not look like Jett Howard is some bust, some unplayable rookie who had a gap here in the G League because he wasn't good enough. No. After one summer league game, it sure looks like Jett Howard made the most of that time and is ready to compete for a spot in the Orlando Magic rotation. Now, you got to do it again. We got to see consistency. But it sure looked like everything that Jett did in Friday's game was extremely replicable. In all, Jett Howard finished in about 23 and a half minutes of play, scoring 22 points, shooting 5 for 10 from 3. There's that volume 3-point shooting that we like. 8 for 15 from the floor overall, with 4 assists and a steal and only 1 turnover to boot. Jett Howard showed us the shooting, and we all knew that shooting existed. We all knew that shooting was a key part of what made Jett Howard so interesting, and a player that Magic fans had on their draft target list early on in his season at Michigan before that draft. We know the shooting's going to be there. Jett Howard knows the shooting's going to be there. But it was the way that he made those shots. It was the movement threes. It was the spot up threes. It was that he wasn't necessarily forcing it. It got there. It's summer league. He forced some shots in the second half, but he had 16 points in the first half. It was everything else that made sense. It was everything else that made it look so good. Those 4 assists, frankly, stand out more to me than his 5 threes. We know he can hit threes, but it was returning a favor after Jay Huff tipped the tip off right to him in stride for a layup on the opening possession. Jett Howard paid that favor back on the very next possession, or at least maybe 2 possessions later, with a nice pick and roll feed to Huff for a dunk. It was paid back when he did an off the dribble pass to Tristan da Silva for 3. Jett Howard looked like a player who understood the offense. That helps. Understood what players were supposed to be, but played under control and made the right reads. That wasn't just gunning for his own shots and saying, like, I'm going to put up as many points as possible because that's what I need to do. No. Jett Howard read the floor perfectly, took advantage of the shot opportunities he had. And he looked like a player that you could plug into the Orlando Magic's lineup and would do a lot of the same things. Jett Howard had impressive shooting performances, and Jett joked that he played a lot better in this game than he did his first game last year. I would agree with that. Jett Howard had a lot of interesting shooting performances that got us excited at last year's Summer League, if we're going to make that comparison. But what Jett didn't look like last year in Vegas was someone who could do more. Someone who could be more than just a scorer or a shooter. Someone that could fit into this do-everything philosophy the Magic have. That is what he learned in a year in the G League. That is what grew with him. And that's what developed to put him and the Magic in a spot where he can make plays and grow his offensive game. This is what the Magic wanted to see. And it's one game. Let's see it again on Sunday. Let's see him do it again. That's super important. I don't want to ignore that part of this equation. But Jett Howard answered a lot of questions that fans had in just one game, and very much looks like a player who could be in that rotation when we get to September and October and training camp begins. Jett Howard wasn't the only standout, though. It was a great day, a great game for the Orlando Magic. Let me make sure I get the score right here. A 106-79 victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers, the North remembers. We'll talk about who else stood out and how they stood out coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With more than 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it is easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. For your next listen, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without the national media just kind of dipping their toes in the water. You want the best. You want the analysis from the people who know their teams the best. No one's going to talk about Jett Howard like I can. No offense. I was watching Summer League. Everyone, and again, Matt Weiner and Greg Anthony, I thought did a good job, but it's Summer League. They're not focused on the games. That's what you're getting from the national media. With the local media, with the local experts, you get the granular stuff that you want. So go find the can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app with the Locked On Sports Today channel. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It would be one thing if Jett Howard was the only player who stood out. And look, Jett was the leading scorer. He looked really, really good. And really, really good in a noticeable way. It wasn't just, oh, he's better than what we saw in the season or better than what we saw even last year in Summer League. It was like, oh, this is an impactful player who is doing things that we didn't expect. That's why we're talking about Jett Howard first. We will get to an Anthony Black game. We'll get to hopefully a Tristan Da Silva game here. But in any case, they kind of had those games in this opener. The Magic just dominated. And like I said this yesterday on yesterday's show, I'm going to repeat it, but I'm going to ignore my advice here. Summer League's not about winning the championship. The result of the game is important to a point. To me, it's important that the players that you care about are winning and winning their minutes. The second unit in the second quarter of this game was not particularly good, but really good in the second half. That's good. I don't care if the Magic win or lose these games. Like, I'll be perfectly honest. It's not that I'm not happy I'm happy that they won. I'm really happy that they won. But the result is not the most important thing. The Magic could have lost this game by 15, and I would still be gushing like, oh, Jett Howard did this, and Anthony Black did this, and Tristan Da Silva did this. And, yes, the Magic lost by 15, but they were +3 in their minutes. They won their minutes. That's all I care about. That's my view of Summer League. Having said that, the Magic won so thoroughly in this game that it does set them up. Let's, beat New Orleans on Sunday. A 27-point win is the kind of win that propels you to the Summer League tournament, the semifinals, and gives you a chance to win a trophy. That's how thoroughly the Magic won this game. And they really dominated this game from the start. It was a blitz from the beginning. And before I get to the individual players, because I'm sure that's what you care about more, so I'm going to bury the lead on this, I am going to give a ton of credit to Lionel Chalmers, the Magic Summer League head coach. He had this team ready to play from the jump. He had them ready to play with intensity and fire. They looked like the Orlando Magic, and that part is important. The Cavs relied a lot on isolation. Imani Bates is a really solid player in this setting. They went one-on-one a lot, and the Magic's defenders were pretty locked in from the beginning. They played with intensity and physicality. Everyone was up on the bench cheering for every single play. The Magic actually got a technical foul because their bench kind of ran onto the court and celebrated an Isaiah Todd dunk in the fourth quarter too much. Lionel Chalmers was asked about it after the game. He says, I actually don't mind that. I want them to be hyped for each other. To me, that tells us that this culture is really healthy, because again, Jeff Holman hates the term culture, but that to me tells me the Magic as a culture, as kind of an organizational idea, it permeates every inch of the franchise. Every bit of this franchise is all in on everything that they're doing. That to me is exciting. And that to me says Anthony Black, Jett Howard, and really kind of told the team, hey, this is how we do things. Lionel Chalmers helped say, hey, this is how we do things. It was clear that this Magic team was locked in from the beginning. And again, that's half the battle in Summer League is, can you execute? Can you do the things that your parent club does, even at a very basic level? The Magic looked like they were out for vengeance for the playoffs. Not that any of them played in that series. AB did a little bit, but the Magic looked ready to go. So I got to give a lot of credit to Lionel Chalmers. Keeping that intensity is going to be key for Sunday. And again, this is how you get the most out of your players, because the Magic got the most out of everyone. Let's go through the score lines here. Jett Howard, 22 points, 5 for 10 shooting, 8 for 15 from the floor, 5 for 10 from 3, 4 assists. We went over him. Fantastic game from Jett Howard. Anthony Black, 20 points, 6 for 9 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3, 7 for 9 from the foul line, 4 steals, 3 assists, did have 3 turnovers. 2 of them were on botched lobs. I'm not losing sleep over those turnovers. They were aggressive. Wendell Carter may catch them, may not, but I'm not losing sleep over aggressive passes leading to turnovers. They were fine in the end. I loved Anthony Black's game. He was aggressive. He was looking to probe. I wouldn't say he was necessarily aggressive looking to score all the time, but he was probing. And he was looking for ways and looking for passes. And the passes weren't always there, and sometimes he would get stuck. But I really loved the patience that he showed. To me, that's such a huge growth point. I know everyone's looking at the assist total and saying, oh, he didn't get a lot of assists. And 2 of those assists were on push-ahead passes. AB is really good at this. He is really good at getting the ball, looking up court, and passing the ball quickly up court, going from free throw line to free throw line. That to me, that is a humongous skill. And one thing he's really good at is increasing the tempo and increasing the pace. And I want to see him be more confident with that when he gets to the main roster. But I loved how he slowed things down. A lot of his points came when he got the ball in the paint and kind of pivoted and used his size to create space, or got the ball in the dunker spot, waited, pump faked, got a man off his feet, waited for him to pass, and either drew the foul or made the layup or made the short shot. It is hard to be that patient. It is really hard to be that patient, especially in a player so young. And so to me, AB wasn't perfect. I want to see the playmaking increase. I want to see him looking to be more assertive to score off the dribble. But he looked really, like in tune with the game. He wasn't trying to force anything, and I love that. The jumper looks a lot better. The jumper looked better from summer league to the regular season last year. The jumper looks better from regular season to now. It's a lot more compact. It's less behind his ear. He's not bringing the ball all the way back behind his ear. It's a little bit more in front. It still goes a little bit up to the side, but he had one shot that he made where he came across the screen to the free throw line and hit a movement jumper. He wasn't hitting that last year. He wasn't even thinking of taking that shot last year. His shot looks a lot more compact, looks a lot more replicable, looks a lot more comfortable. I think the shooting will still be a little bit of a struggle. It's still going to be something that's going to take some time. And I don't expect him to be like a knockdown 3-point shooter, but his shot looks so much better. Really just even in a year, how much better it looks and again, the results are there too. He's making shots. There's work, Anthony Black maybe didn't show us everything we wanted to see in this game, but I really loved the game that he played. I got to say the same thing about Tristan da Silva. Tristan da Silva, 13 points, 3 for 6 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3, so made only threes, 4 for 4 from the foul line, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, no turnovers. Da Silva was not trying to impose himself on the game. He wasn't trying to do too much. It definitely looked like he was trying to get comfortable, but you can already see why everyone on the Magic loves him and why everyone is just like, this kid gets it. Like, this kid understands where to be on the floor, how to be open. His 3-point shot looks a lot better than even I thought. Like, he's a 39% shooter in college last year, but it looked really comfortable. Da Silva did not look rushed at all. And again, this is like the big thing. Like, don't look rushed. Like, look like you're under control and composed. Da Silva looked completely composed, completely understood where he was supposed to be on the floor, took his opportunities when they were there, didn't try to force too much. A really great first game, and I'm hoping he looks a lot more comfortable Sunday and looks a lot more aggressive on Sunday too. But really loved, for an introduction for a lot of us to how Da Silva plays, I would say like he just fit in. Like it never looked, I was surprised how many points he scored at the half, because it was just like, oh yeah, like I knew, yeah, he had a couple threes, but it was just like, oh, the ball just finds him and he's going to make the right decision with it one way or another. So really, really nice game. The other standout in today's game was Jay Huff, Magic center, 16 points, 7 for 9 shooting, 2 for 2 from the foul line, 6 rebounds, just really active along the glass. He's 7 feet tall. Greg Anthony kept mentioning on the broadcast that he looked a lot more athletic this year than he did last year in Summer League. That's a good sign of growth. I thought he played good defense. The kind of rap on him was that he was not a particularly strong defender. I thought he defended the rim really well, defended the paint really well. We'll have a good test of that on Sunday against Yves Missy and the Pelicans. But Huff was rolling hard through the lane. Magic found him on fast breaks, found him on pick and rolls. He was there and present to make shots. Just I really he played well. And so like at the end of the day, it was a Summer League game. There was a lot of Summer League performances. Jared Rhoden was 1 for 7. Charles Bediako, 1 for 4, but that one make was a 3 and a 7-footer making 3. He defended really well as well. There were a lot of iffy performances, but the guys that we care about, and no offense to the other players, the guys that we're really invested in the Summer League, Anthony Black, Jett Howard, Tristan da Silva, they all stood out. They were all at least plus 31, plus minus. They dominated their minutes, and that really, individual plus minus doesn't mean anything usually. That means something in Summer League. A really solid opening salvo for the Magic in Summer League. We'll see what they look like on Sunday against the New Orleans Pelicans. The Magic again defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers 106-79 to open Summer League. We'll be back in action Sunday against the Pelicans. That was not the only news of the day. We will chat about the Magic's NBA Cup group, the group of death in the Eastern Conference. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at BetterHelp. Look, it is the internet is a tough place to be. It is a place of constant comparison, of constant frustration at times. It is, in the internet world, negativity sells. It stinks. It's the worst. And unfortunately, we're all subjected to it. It's hard to avoid it. And eventually it does get to us in some way, shape, or form. Even the best of us sometimes fall victim to the internet's negativity game. That's why we have to remember that the internet is not reality. In reality, those who seem to have it all together on Instagram probably don't. And therapy can help you focus on what you want instead of what others have, so you can start living your best life. Therapy is something that has helped me throughout my entire life. It has helped me gain a better understanding of myself and my emotions, how to regulate them, how to use them positively, how to think about them positively, how to get them out into the world, verbalize them positively, and move forward the best that I can. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. The last bit of news to get out here on a Friday. The NBA Cup draw was held on Friday. I wish they would have done it live, create a little bit more drama instead of just handing envelopes to players and having them read it off. But the Orlando Magic were in pot 2 as one of the top 6 teams in the NBA. It's ordered by standings from the previous year. So the Magic were grouped with the Cavs and the Pacers. And the Orlando Magic find themselves in perhaps the East group of death. The Orlando Magic will play their Emirates NBA Cup schedule against the New York Knicks, Philadelphia 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, and Charlotte Hornets. The schedule matrix is out already. Orlando will travel to New York and Brooklyn. They will host the Sixers and Hornets in their NBA Cup matchups. So very, very exciting stuff for the Orlando Magic. Unlike last year, the group that the Magic were in felt like a very gettable group. Yes, the Boston Celtics were the top team in that group. But the Nets, Raptors, and Bulls all felt like on the Magic's level. And considering the Magic were the 5 seed in that tournament, as a team that finished at the bottom of the standings the year before, considering the Magic were kind of the 5 seed in that group, being able to go up against a 2 seed like Brooklyn or the Bulls and Raptors, 2 teams that were playing tournaments, it felt like very much a proving ground for Orlando. It felt like, okay, we're going to know very early in the season just how serious the Magic are about competing for what we thought would be the play-in tournament. Well, it turns out the Magic got a couple key lessons. First, every game matters. Losing that first game to the Brooklyn Nets by 20 points is ultimately what kept them from advancing. And the Magic learned that lesson very early on. It's like, oh, every game, every moment matters. And that's something that mattered, obviously, at the end of the season when the Magic needed that win over the Bucks to clinch their playoff spot. But we also saw, okay, the Magic bounced back, beat the Bulls, dominated the Raptors at home, and then on Black Friday, with all the pressure on, the Magic's last in-season tournament game, last NBA Cup group play game, the Magic went out and beat the Boston Celtics, forced the Celtics to beat the Bulls by like 30-some-odd points just to get out of the group. The Magic took care of their business and gave themselves the best opportunity to advance. The Magic showed in that in-season tournament that they can step up to the plate. That was exciting, and very much the NBA Cup accomplished the goal. The Magic accomplished their NBA Cup goals last year. They proved to themselves that they could win pressure games, that they were good enough to compete with who they thought at the time were their peers, but also compete with the eventual champions in the Boston Celtics in a pressure game, in a major game on Black Friday. The Magic have that opportunity again here. The Magic have that opportunity to once again prove they belong in an upper stratosphere, because this is the group of death. Everyone in those top groups did not want to be in the group with the Philadelphia 76ers, because I think a lot of us acknowledge the Sixers are not a 7 seed. So for them to be in pot 3, that was the group, that was the team you wanted to avoid. Well, we got them. They're coming to the Kia Center sometime in November. We're going to have to deal with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George very early on in their getting to know each other process. But in a pressure-packed game, Orlando's going to have to prove that they can beat 2 of the top teams in the Eastern Conference to get into the tournament round, to get into the knockout round. And again, prove to themselves and to the rest of the league, this is a Magic team that is dangerous. This is a Magic team that will be difficult to deal with, difficult to beat. A Magic team that can compete for a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals, can win a playoff series, and so forth. The Knicks are a really good team. They're not going to be an easy out either. And honestly, I would bet, I don't know if FanDuel has the odds on these out yet, I would bet the Sixers are the favorite to win the group. The Magic are probably not. Magic are probably predicted to finish 3rd in this group. So again, it's a challenge. Would I have preferred to be in Group C with the Celtics and the Cavs? With the Celtics instead, maybe. Would I prefer to be in Group A with the Bucks? That's probably the group I'd prefer to be in, if I had to pick. But getting out of these groups, winning things that matter is always going to be tough. And guess what? You can listen to Locked On Knicks. You can listen to Locked On Sixers. When they talk about the NBA Cup groups, I am sure they're going to say the same thing. We are in a tough group. We have an opportunity to win, but we are in a tough group. The Knicks are difficult. The Sixers are difficult. The Magic are difficult. I'll even go ahead and say it. If the Hornets are healthy, LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, we saw what Brandon Miller did to the Magic in April last year. I was at that game. It was not fun. That team is plenty capable of surprising people early on in the season when they're healthy. That I am not sleeping on the Charlotte Hornets at all with Charles Lee as their head coach now. I am still a believer that the Hornets can be a sneaky team. Whether I'm right or wrong on that, I don't think they're making the playoffs, but I think they're better than what people think. This is not going to be easy, but guess what? Winning championships is not easy. Making the playoffs and winning in the playoffs is not easy. And if you want to be among the best teams in the league, you got to prove that you can beat the best teams in the league. You got to prove that you can beat the Philadelphia 76ers of the world, that you can beat the New York Knicks of the world, a team that the Magic beat twice last year, by the way. You've got to prove that you can beat these teams. You got to prove you can beat them on the road. Honestly, the most important game, all due respect to the Sixers coming to the Kia Center, going up to Madison Square Garden for a major game and showing up and beating the Knicks, that'd be a huge win. But guess what? The Magic should embrace these challenges. They should embrace being among and playing against the best teams in the league, because they should feel they are capable of winning them. Last year, for the in-season tournament for the NBA Cup, we looked at the Magic's group and said, this is a winnable group. This is a group that we feel if the Magic are as good as we think they can be, they can win. They can surprise everyone. We know they play Boston tough. We looked at that group and said, let's go prove the Magic are going to be competitive for the postseason. Let's do it early in the season. I see the same thing in East Group A. Let's go prove the Magic are ready to compete for something bigger. That they're ready to compete, not just to make the playoffs. We've proven we can do that already. Let's show they're ready to compete for a playoff series win, for the Eastern Conference Finals, to be Eastern Conference champions. That's what the NBA Cup was always meant to prove. It was meant to be this testing ground for young teams, an opportunity to get experience playing pressure games. The pressure's on the Orlando Magic. They finished second in the group last year. You want to do better? Let's advance. That challenge will be tough, but the Magic are perfectly capable of doing so. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, follow me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun bits and podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. Be sure also to check us out on YouTube. You can subscribe there at youtube.com/@LockedOnMagic. Truly appreciate that. And for the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, for all immediate reactions, analysis, and recaps from Summer League. I'm posting those first on my Patreon page. You go to patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. It's $5 a month. That's all I'm asking for. You get extra Magic content and so much more, including early looks at articles that I'm writing for Orlando Magic Daily. Again, you can find that at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And as always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube and now available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Day is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Day now available on the free Fire TV channels app. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On our next episode, we'll break down the Magic's game against the New Orleans Pelicans on Sunday. We will see you then. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.